it's Jen, and I am now 30 weeks pregnant. Actually, tomorrow I will be 31 weeks pregnant, which means I am so full on in the third trimester now. It gets kind of crazy, I feel like, once you hit the 30s, because the number of weeks until the baby is actually here is less than 10. I have like 9-ish weeks to get everything ready and be totally prepared for actually having another little human being coming into my house, which is insane. So quite a lot has actually happened since my last preggy vlog this time, including, I would say, one of the biggest things, having my gestational diabetes test. Let me just tell you all of those things that people tell you about. Certain people are at risk if you're like overweight or you have a family history or whatnot. I didn't discount myself because I'm already hypoglycemic, which means that my blood sugar tends to have low dips, and my mom also has diabetes, a lot in part due to her arthritis medicines that she has to take. So I was pretty nervous going into it. Although when I was pregnant with Aria, had the 1-hour test, went totally fine. This time around, it wasn't exactly like that. So I went in for my 1-hour test. I didn't know that it was happening that day, so they kind of like put it on me all of a sudden, and I was just like, yeah, whatever. I mean, last time it was fine, so I'll just do it. Basically, they have you go in there, you have to drink 50 grams of sugar, orange soda, but like super sugary drink, and you have to drink this whole entire bottle in 5 minutes, and then 1 hour later, they draw your blood. If your blood is above a certain amount, they have to do the longer test. I'm pretty sure it's probably obvious from the title of this video or how I've been talking about it. I did not pass that 1-hour test. You have to be like less than 40 for them to be all clear. I was like definitely like above 45. I didn't really have any choice but to go back, which really sucks. So I was actually pretty nervous for the 3-hour test because, like I said, I'm already hypoglycemic. So not only am I affected by having to fast, which you need to do before you even begin. So I went in early in the morning. At least I could just like sleep and just not have to eat anything past, I think, 9 p.m. They draw your blood when you're fasting, and then you have to take a 100 milligram sugar glucose drink in 5 minutes, which is twice as sugary as the first time. That one was disgusting. It was like a fruit punch red flavor, and it was like so disgusting. It was so gross and so sugary. Another thing with the hypoglycemia is if you drink something super sugary, it makes your blood sugar drop really hard, so I knew I would just feel pretty miserable for the next few hours. So they take it fasting, you drink the drink. 1 hour, you have to get your blood drawn again. 2 hours, you get your blood drawn again. 3 hours, you get your blood drawn again. So you literally have to sit there waiting for over 3 hours and get pricked at least 4 times. Notice how I said at least. My 3-hour test, for the most part, went okay. The first couple of times, it was painful, but I endured it. The second person that I got, you know, in your head, when you run through of like people drawing your blood, especially multiple times, I always think like, oh, please, dear God, please let this person get a clean draw. And if they can get it once, I'm pretty sure they can get it again. Even if they are the type of technician where it hurts a little bit more, at least I can trust that they got it before so they can do it again. When that person changes, there's this fear of like, just please, please. Unfortunately, the second technician I got, he poked the needle in and there is just like barely a trickle. You know how they kind of like, they like move the needle around to try to see if they can kind of repoke without completely repoking? It trickles, and of course it hurts way more. He had to pull the needle back out and called over the first technician. She walked all the way over to his station and had to re-jab me. So I basically, in that one session, had to get poked like 3 times. You know, it's one of those things where normally if that was the first draw, I would be like, let's just get past this. But at this point, I had already fasted, had my blood drawn then, taken the drink, dealt with that for an hour, had to get my blood drawn again. This was the 3rd time. So by the 3-hour mark, I had already gotten poked 5 times, and I was just feeling so crappy and so hungry and so exhausted. I kept my cool and I was like, I'm okay. When I sat back down in the waiting room again, because I still had to to wait another hour. I couldn't help it. I started crying. You know, maybe it's the pregnancy hormones and just being so nervous and anxious about the situation, about like worrying if I had gestational diabetes. I know it's not the end of the world, but I was going to Hawaii in like another week after that for a baby moon, and I was really looking forward to all of the things I could eat in Hawaii, and if I had gestational diabetes, and that would really change our trip quite a lot. And I know it's just a temporary thing, and I know a lot of people have gestational diabetes, but I was really worried. And of course, last but not least, I was so concerned about the baby because it can obviously make a huge effect on the size of the baby, the health of the baby. So I was just already a bundle of nerves. It was a stressful situation. Another hour passed, got my blood drawn again, had a third technician, was super worried, but this guy was the best out of everyone. He poked it in, barely even hurt, the blood was drawn quickly, and I almost cried at that point at how smooth that one was. It all ended on a positive note. Literally on my drive home, I already got the results of the test, and it said that my 3-hour test was clear. Yes! So that means I did not have gestational diabetes. All of that worry and everything was basically water under the bridge. But it just really reminded me that there are so many things that we go through during pregnancy and so many stresses, so many anxieties, whether it becomes a problem or not. It's a lot of burden that we carry that we don't necessarily share with each other, you know? You just think, oh, look at that pregnant woman. She's so cute. She must be super happy and excited about her child. And it's like, literally at every stage, at every month, there's a new test that comes up that makes you worried about all of the possibilities of things that can go wrong. And that's just the truth of it. You don't even have to be an anxious person. There are so many things medically that they just have to test for. And so it's kind of impossible to just keep your cool all the time and just be like, oh yeah, you know, I'm just gonna be happy this whole time. Not to mention, you could literally be the most chill person on earth and then find a reason in pregnancy to cry because you got the wrong kind of ice or because you didn't have cake when everybody else has cake. Getting back to my current symptoms, I've just passed that threshold where I went from being super freezing all the time to kind of feeling like the baby is a personal heater attached to my body. I'm not quite at the point where I'm equal to Ben's super hot body heat level, but I'm pretty sure I'm almost there, especially if the weather is really hot outside. I'm noticing that my normal body temperature tends to be a little cooler than I feel right now. That's a huge factor, especially moving into the summertime months. It gets a little bit miserable near the end, and like I said, wait, did I forget to say this? Oh my gosh, you guys, I forgot to say this earlier. The baby's due date is on Arya's birthday. It is literally Arya's second birthday. So the timeline of me going through this pregnancy and all of the weather-related symptoms is exactly the same as it was with her, which on one hand is really nice because I can reuse all of the same maternity clothes in terms of like how hot or cold things are. But on the other hand, we are not even planning on a birthday thing for her because I know it's going to be insanity around that time. And I'm still kind of in shock because what if they end up having the same birthday, like forever? I don't even know how I'm going to handle that. Something to worry about in the future. Right now, focusing on my current symptoms. Another thing is I've been having more Braxton Hicks contractions. Braxton Hicks are basically your uterus's way of preparing for labor, and so you have practice contractions, but they're quite uncomfortable. Sometimes it just feels like my whole stomach turns into a rock, like all of the muscles are just super tight, which I would compare to when you eat too much food and you just feel so full and your stomach gets kind of like rock hard because it's so full. Not the best feeling in the world. I've had a lot of nights where I've had to just fill up a bath and just lay in there because the flotation of my body sort of helps relieve the pressure, and it's just one of the few times where I can feel like my body is a little bit more relaxed because it is so hard to find any positions to sit in or lay in that's actually comfortable. I have been a pretty good sleeper during this pregnancy, and the last few weeks, man, it's just rough. I wake up so many times at night because I feel like I have to pee, or just moving around or having super crazy crazy dreams. I just miss those long stretches of sleep that I used to get. Another thing, my heartburn has been insane. I have Tums on my bedside and I take them almost every single night. It's one of those things where if I'm even sort of like reclining and I've eaten, the whole few hours after then, I will feel like a burning. I'll feel it in my throat. It'll make me cough because it sort of like comes up. I'll have like burps, hate to say this, but like a little bit of like throwing up in my mouth of whatever I ate, just because I feel like my esophagus is like this long now. It's very, very unpleasant. But again, I remember from my last pregnancy, it went away immediately after I gave birth. So it's definitely like a biological, physical thing. That's why that's happening. My cravings, I've been really wanting a lot of citrusy things. So totally all about eating popsicles lately. Lots of orange juice. Probably this is the first time it's been a little bit more similar to the pregnancy with Aria. I've been wanting ice cream. I love ice cream, but I want ice cream like every single day, which I know is not super healthy. It is what it is. Another sort of biological thing is that it's gotten a lot harder to breathe because everything is moving up into my ribs. I get out of breath, obviously, pretty frequently. And the baby moving, oh my goodness. Well, I will say Aria, I think, was a little bit more violent in terms of how she moved. But this baby, I like to say he starfishes. By that I mean all limbs in every direction doing these kind of movements. And a lot of times I will just feel baby feet like in my ribs, just pressing. In fact, sometimes my ribs will feel sore because there's just so much of that pressure and kicking like right up here. It's especially rough at night when I'm laying down about to fall asleep and there's just like tons of movement. But I think it's because when we're walking around, the baby's sort of being rocked to sleep, and then when we finally stop to rest, they're like, oh, it's party time. Thank goodness I'm so exhausted that I still fall asleep okay. I'm sure there has to be a lot of crazy movement while I'm actually dead asleep. I remember when I was pregnant with Aria, Ben would actually say there were times he would be laying next to me and he could feel the baby moving in my stomach while I was asleep. So that's kind of something that boggles my mind a little bit, because like sometimes I wonder how in the world do I sleep through that. But the baby is definitely awake at different times than I am, so whatever. I feel like this is kind of a weird topic, but like belly buttons, can we just talk about belly buttons for a minute? Because I used to be super freaked out of the idea of having an outie during pregnancy. I've always had an innie my whole life. Even with Aria, it really just kind of flattened out. This time, I swear there are many times, depending on how much I eat or what position I'm sitting or standing in, where I have like a half outie, half innie. Like it's sometimes in certain positions will pop out a little bit. Sometimes it's just totally flat or goes in. So I don't think that's an official outie. I will say it's a little bit different than with Aria. Maybe things are already stretched out, but that was something that I found a little bit interesting, is there's more of an appearance of an outie than I expected. Also, another difference is that my linea nigra, which is that dark line pigmentation down the middle of your stomach, the darkening of my armpits and my skin hyperpigmentation, I'm just now starting to have that get a little bit darker, but for the most part I feel like that came on a lot later this pregnancy than with Aria. Because last time, like, my armpits got super dark, my pigmentation on my back was insane, my acne on my back was super insane, and I basically don't have that whatsoever on my back this pregnancy. I do have the hyperpigmentation, but that's like from 2 years ago that I still couldn't get rid of from how bad it was with her, and it's kind of astonishing to me that I'm just not having acne this time. Super funny, Aria. My skin is also different than last time because in my second trimester with her, my skin super cleared up and it basically stayed pretty clear on my face. This pregnancy, I've had a little bit more skin on my face acne problems through the entire second trimester. It didn't really start clearing up until the beginning of third, and I'm still having to fight it a little bit, but it's much better than it was before. So I can't complain. I would rather have a couple extra spots on my face than having life obliteratingly bad back knee that I had with Aria. But it's a trade-off. It's just super unexpected because I thought it would be kind of more similar to what I went through last time, and it's been very, very different. Speaking of my face, I've just now started to feel within the last couple of weeks when I'm washing my face that my face is starting to get a little bit chubbier. I can feel fat in my face than before, but I still generally feel like I gained more in my face with Aria. So when people are saying the whole thing about like, you gain differently with a girl versus a boy, I think I agree with that. I really do. I look more like myself this far into the game carrying a boy than I did with a girl. This kind of goes without saying, but it's definitely the point where I have to pee all the time. And it doesn't matter if I just peed, I probably still have to pee again. It's like a dog. You know how they say dogs never run out of pee when you take them on a walk? They can just like pee on every tree, and it's just sort of a biological thing that they always have extra pee. That's how pregnancy is. You just always have secret pee that can come out anytime you cough or sneeze or jump or run or have to pick up something heavy. It is always an accident waiting to happen, which is super annoying, but I've just gotten in the habit of carrying an extra pair of underwear with me in my purse, like wherever I go, because what am I gonna do? I could wear like panty liners and pads and stuff, but I find those things to be quite uncomfortable. Cotton works best for me, and I just switch it out when I have to. I just have accepted that it's a part of life. I've talked to my OB about it, and she's like, well, at this point, it's a pressure thing. There's not really anything you can do until after you give birth. And then, like, physically and emotionally, I've been a lot more exhausted. It's crazy how for the different trimesters, things just switch like a flip. A completely different set of symptoms as soon as you hit that next stage. I know, Aria, it's rough. I've been needing more naps. I've been needing more rest. And it's especially tough right now because Ben and Aria both are sick with a cold. We're just trying to make it each hour, each day, day by day. But it's just at that point where I'm like, why can I just not get a break? Like, Ben, can you just carry the baby for me for the next couple months? Like, no big deal, right? I don't know how I'm going to get through the last couple months of this, but has to happen. Knock on wood, it will happen, and the baby's safe and healthy and happy. So let me give you a little bow day update. This is what we're rocking right now. I don't know if you can see the back of my shirt. Definitely poppin'. Everything feels heavy and full. Not at the fun stage right now. Not at the cute bump stage anymore, although I know people online might disagree. I still have more to go, but I definitely feel like more stretched out than last time. Or maybe I just have a terrible memory and it was actually this hard last time too, which is probably the case. So I guess that is about it for this preggy vlog. I have to go tend to my sick daughter and husband. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching. This is Jen. Oh, if you want to see the rest of the preggy vlog playlist, I'll leave a link down below, and I'll also link the last video. I will see you guys later. I love you. Bye.